So I want to talk to you today kind of about my career at Kodak, jobs I've had, and what I've learned along the way. And I thought I would do questions at the end, but if anybody has a question that would help clarify, because sometimes I don't articulate things as well as I might, please raise your hand and I'll certainly accept questions at any time. So a long, long time ago, I was a soccer player on one of the first girls' soccer teams in the high school area in New York. We won the sectionals. I was salutatorian of my high school class of over 400 students. And what did I do with that? So long ago, I actually didn't have a great guidance counselor in my high school. And so I did what my mother thought I should do. I went to the community college, Monroe Community College, and took secretarial. I did very well. Immediately was hired by Kodak and started my career as a secretary at Eastman Kodak Company. So Kodak, I wasn't going to talk a whole lot about Kodak, but I did spend 30 years in the movie film division of Kodak. Really cool place. As I progressed through jobs, I've done things like go to the Olympics for Kodak. We used to be a worldwide sponsor for over 100 years. I've been to the Academy Awards a few times. I've been to cool film festivals like Sundance, Cannes, Berlin. So I've done some really cool things, but I kind of wanted to take you through how did I get there, because a lot of that I did toward the end of my career. So as I sat there as the dutiful secretary on a real typewriter before computers, I looked at what were people doing to further themselves and to really have a career, because I knew I didn't want to be a career secretary. And there's no offense to career secretaries, but that was just not what I needed to do to fulfill what I felt was my more or less calling. So I noticed that people who got promoted had sales experience. So I thought, I think I can sell. So I decided I was actually going back to school because Kodak would pay for it. So I was going to RIT at night. And I went to see the national sales manager and I said, I want to be a sales rep. And he said, get your degree. So good for all of you. You're getting your bachelor's degree. That's a wonderful thing because it will serve you well in business. So I kept going to school. Well, what happened is, unfortunately, somebody passed away in our New York City office. They offered the sales rep job to two men who said no. In the early 80s, New York wasn't exactly the most ideal place to live for safety reasons. And so I think they got desperate, and they knew I wanted to be a sales rep. So they said, so Ann, would you like to go to New York and be a sales rep? And I was like, yeah. So talked to my husband, and he worked for a local bank in Rochester, and he was able to transfer with the bank. So it was an easy decision for him to follow me, and we moved to White Plains, New York, and I commuted to the city. So what did I learn there? I mean, I already knew Kodak's equipment, so I was prepared in that way to sell slide projectors, little 16-millimeter movie projectors, motion picture film. And it was very apparent to me as I began selling that you really have to like what you do. Fortunately, I did. I really enjoyed sales, so it worked out well for me to sell. I had to care about my customers because if they knew I cared for them, they seemed more likely to buy from me. We had a sales contest for selling slide projectors. They would come right out there and try to support me so that I could win the contest. So caring for your customers, great way for increased sales, and also just great relationships that you can build with people. Caring for your colleagues, the other sales reps. You know, we were part of a team. And as you are part of a community here, you know that if one person succeeds, you really all do. So that was what I learned as somebody on a sales team in Manhattan, New York. Little story here, stand up for yourself. What I wanted to say is, so I must have been 26 years old, and I was a successful sales rep. And somebody who had gone to my high school contacted me and said, okay, I have this job offer from Kodak. I'm not sure about the salary. Can you tell me if you think this is good? Well, his starting salary was like $2,000 more than what I was making. And back then, $2,000 was a lot of money. So I was quite upset, but decided to try to handle it professionally. So I went in to see my district sales manager, and I said, so my friend was offered a job making $2,000 more than me to work in our consumer division. And his answer to me was, Ann, Kodak has to pay good people to get good people. So I said, well, Kodak has to pay good people to keep good people. And then I left because I thought I was going to cry. So the point is, back then, you know, you really need to stand up for yourself. A few months later, I actually got a pretty good raise. I'm not sure if I got the $2,000. I really can't remember. But at least they showed that they listened to me. And I thought that was important because you can get taken advantage if you work hard. You know, hey, she seems happy. No, maybe we don't have to pay her more. But you know what? I was all for equity. I had 3 brothers and 1 sister, and I just wanted to be treated fairly. So stand up for yourself. Okay, so another thing I learned early on was, you know, really you should identify what do you want to do next. It seemed like Kodak switched people's roles every 2 to 3 years. So I knew being a sales rep in New York wasn't what I was going to stick with for my whole career. So I decided, well, what seems to be a good role is working in the training area. And what that meant was training peer sales reps how to sell new products or new selling skills, and also training our customers. So I took a role, actually I was on maternity leave, and had just had my first child, and they offered me this role back in Rochester, New York. So my husband was happy. Our family is in Rochester, both sides. So took the job, moved to Rochester, and my husband quit his job for the first time in 7 moves, where he followed me. And I was telling the group at coffee earlier that the term for the spouse that follows the one who gets moved all the time is the trailing spouse. So my husband started his trailing spouse thing and moved with me back to Rochester. So to be a trainer, obviously, you have to speak publicly. And okay, I'm nervous right now, all right? You know, even though I've been doing it for all these years, it's something that, at least for me, I'll never get over the nervousness of it, but it is something that is a great thing to have in your back pocket, that you know you can do it. And so when you have the opportunity, like I did, thanks to Bob, I would just say, take advantage of it. It's a great experience, and it only helps you in other situations. Trusting common sense. I wonder what I meant there. Ah, yes. So we have this new product. Who remembers what an overhead projector is? Okay, good, because you needed an overhead projector for our new product. You'd take your computer, which is bigger than this one, and you'd take these cords, like a lot of them, and plug them in your computer, and then you would put them into this is called a data show. And you put the data show on top of your overhead projector because that was your light source. And then you would project on the screen. So it was the precursor to what we're using today of a computer projector. So it was a great product, but there was no PowerPoint. There was DOS. So I know nothing about computers. And computer programming. So I was married to a computer programmer, so he helped me understand how I could get visuals and words from this computer to be projected on the screen so that the sales reps I was training would have something to actually show this product and make it look at least interesting. And it was hard for me with DOS. But I learned as I took notes that if I followed the steps, I could really understand it and do something and really make a meaningful presentation. So I as an instructor or training specialist, I decided to make a recipe book. And so I went step by step on what the sales reps had to do to create their presentation so that they could sell this product. So I was training a lot of men who were probably 40s and 50s, and some of them probably didn't even really know how to type because back then we didn't really have laptops, so you didn't really need to know. But anyway, it was a time when I wanted to make it as easy as I could, and it actually worked. And they were grateful to a way that they could be successful when it was out of their comfort zone. So you need to really try to use common sense to figure out solutions to the problems you have, because when things are new, probably nobody's done it before, so you've got to figure out your own way. Another thing I learned, continue to think about what do you want to do next and make sure people know, because when that job opens, like when I took the sales rep job, when the unfortunate situation happened, they knew I was interested in sales and I ended up getting the job. So always make sure your boss and others know what you want to do. And then it never hurts to make your boss look good. So it's kind of like having your team look good, make your boss look good, and then you've got a really good supporter who's more in those conversations about next steps. So I told my boss I wanted his job, which was the global training manager, or global training director. And I ended up getting the job, and it afforded me the opportunity to travel worldwide. So I went to really cool places like Australia and did training there, and Germany, and just places that I never would have had the opportunity to go to. I had never been on an airplane until I was 18. So it was a wonderful role that allowed me to